people or institutions. Well, actually, you can have both. All of us respect the good work of volunteers, and there are many different ways to do it. But tonight, we may have found the most unusual. It involves education, the environment, scuba diving, and some pretty big eating machines. I think you know what I mean. Tell me, would you dive in a tank and go jaw to jaw with jaws? Would you go swimming with sharks? Sharks. Most people are afraid of them. They're big. They've got a lot of teeth. And if you see them in movies, they're the villains of the sea. But in reality, there are people at the New Jersey State Aquarium in Camden who, if you can imagine, actually volunteer their time to swim with the sharks.
Not many aquariums actually dive with the sharks, and there's only a few that use volunteers in with sharks.
Is that painted for a purpose? Fran Ansborough is assistant curator of fishes and the dive operations manager at the aquarium. She's responsible for the training and safety of over 50 volunteers in a dive program that allows people to hang out with the sharks. Actually,
the sharks are more afraid of the divers. One thing you probably wouldn't think of that we're really concerned about is more how comfortable the animals are than the divers, and that the divers aren't disrupting the fish in the tank.
Sheila Lorette Emerson is proud to be the first African-American woman diver at the New Jersey State Aquarium. She became interested in becoming a diver at the aquarium before she even knew how to dive. So she quickly became certified, and suddenly, inspiration met reality.
The first time I ever dived in a tank, I was standing on the deck, and I thought to myself, I can handle this, until I looked down and a big 8-foot sand tiger swam right underneath me. And I thought to myself, okay, maybe I'm not as adventurous and brave as I think I am. Just by doing it, week after every other week, I've gotten used to it, and now I'm not scared of the sharks, but I have a very deep respect for them.
Every now and then I've been bumped a couple times by them, and that's kind of a reminder that I'd better start paying attention. But it's not really a problem.
Nancy Stanley has been scuba diving for 8 years. When the volunteer program had an opening for a diver 6 months ago, she jumped at the chance.
The only time I got nervous was the first day I dove. And I stood on the platform and I thought, do I really want to do this? And I took the plunge, and I haven't regretted it. And I really don't get nervous with the sharks. I almost don't notice them anymore.
We look for a couple things. One is they need to be really good at diving, have really good skills, have their skills really well mastered. The other thing we look for is personality, since they're interacting with the public and visitors, educating the public, and doing the demonstrations. They need to be able to interact well with people.
Probably the most important thing we do is interact with the public, and we do that in a number of ways, primarily through the dive show that we put on 3 times a day. Also by just interacting with the public when we're not in the tank. We'll walk around and talk to a lot of the kids, and I think that's my favorite part of the job.
One of my favorites is shark.
With a special underwater microphone, the divers can talk to the crowd, and they can hear questions as well as comments.
Anything that has to do with the divers and the sharks, we get lots of questions about. Aren't you afraid? You're crazy for being in there with those sharks. I wouldn't do something like that.
And treat others with respect.
But educating the public about the sharks and the environment isn't crazy to Nancy and Sheila.
Every little bit of education that any of us can have, anything we do, it all helps.
And not only do they teach the public, but they educate the staff as well.
The aquarists don't spend as much time in the tank daily as the volunteers do, and they really monitor the fish for their health. If there's any disease problems, any weird behaviors, they let the aquarists know so that they can take action if they need to do any treatments for the animals or whatnot. So that's really important.
The sharks are fed on a regular basis, so the divers are hardly a temptation for the sharks to eat, especially since sharks, believe it or not, hate the taste of human beings. However, in spite of the built-in drama, the program isn't all excitement and showbiz. The volunteers have other responsibilities, too.
It's really just a big fish tank that needs cleaning just like your home tank. So they're in there vacuuming the gravel, cleaning the windows, cleaning the walls.
And we do more housework probably here than we do at home.
The hardest part is probably scrubbing the tank walls. It's a lot of work, but it has to be done.
What also has to be done is feeding the 23 species of other fish in the tank. And that means preparing dinner for 1,000. But all the time they spend away from their busy schedules is worth it to Sheila and Nancy.
It's real important to learn about your environment. It's so easy to get caught up in work and home responsibilities and just focusing on our little world that we have. There's a bigger world, and I think it's our responsibility to realize that and be a part of helping to maintain the bigger world.
So if you're thinking you want to volunteer your time to dive with the sharks for the New Jersey State Aquarium, you need to get your diver certification, but you don't need a degree in marine biology.
There's nurses, housewives, construction workers that are volunteer divers, and they don't have the marine biology background initially, so we try to give them a kind of a crash course in marine biology so that they can answer questions for the public and educate the public. So they go through a lot of that training as well.
And if you're worried about that shark getting its revenge on you after you ate all that seafood, remember, to a shark, people are not exactly the catch of the day.
I don't think we taste very good. So they prefer smaller things, fish.
It was fun to go behind the scenes of the aquarium, and it looked like a great experience to swim with the sharks, although I'm not volunteering anytime soon. The aquarium itself is making quite a comeback. With the sharks and the new colorful tropical tanks, attendance over the July 4th weekend was up 48%. The aquarium, which has had its growing pains, is a changed place. I didn't recognize all the renovations and the new additions. And now there's another deal. The Seaport Museum on the Philadelphia side and the aquarium on the New Jersey side are selling a joint ticket. That's a good idea. Maybe that's something other area attractions should think about so we can make our museums much more affordable. We'll be right back.
Bowl from the inside out.
For anybody out there who's ever had an aquarium in their home, you know what a chore it is to keep it clean and make sure the water quality's up to par.
Well, you can imagine what those tasks involved when your aquarium is the largest one in the Northeast and is 20 feet deep and holds 750,000 gallons of water.
A chore that the maintenance crew at the New Jersey State Aquarium in Camden aren't afraid to dive right in and take care of.
A tank this size, you don't reach in with a pole and do it. You're doing it by hand. You're doing it yourself.
We have a little bit over 80 volunteer divers that come in twice a month, and they just love it. It's a little bit of adrenaline kick, I think, for them.
An adventure they're more than happy to train more volunteers to share in.
We gotta get you dressed and let's get going.
Using training equipment like a scuba phone mask that not only allows a diver to talk to his crew chief, but to hear instructions underwater as well.
It's a full face mask with a microphone inside, and there's a little piece that rests on your jawbone that actually sends vibrations through your bone. That's how you actually can hear. Just clear as anyone talking to you.
Which is somewhat reassuring considering the authentic ocean environment you're going to be doing house cleaning chores in. Can be a little unsettling for beginners.
There's 3 species of sharks in there.
You know, maybe I should mention that I don't really do windows.
The largest is about 10 foot long.
Part of making a natural system and making a natural environment is a predator-prey relationship.
Oh, now there's something I really needed to hear.
They're pretty well fed. They're fed every other day, individually from a pole above the tank. They've kind of gotten a little lazy.
Oh, let's hope they stay that way.
We use the same procedures and techniques that you'd really use at home. The vacuuming of the tank, the cleaning of the windows.
So actually we use ordinary baby diapers to clean the windows because the acrylic's very soft and scratches easy, and the algae just wipes right off with the diaper.
You know, this must be what it would be like to work as a domestic for Captain Nemo. Except he wouldn't be such a nitpicker.
And we actually vacuum the gravel just like you do at home, except we've made a big fiberglass custom vacuum for the size of this tank.
Yeah, I didn't think Hoover sold this off the shelf.
There's probably about 25 different species. Some of the fish stay away.
Of course, you know, as soon as there's work to be done, they take off. Yeah, housework is the same everywhere.
Inside the tank of the New Jersey State Aquarium, I'm John Pollack, Channel 6 Action News.
Missed a spot, Don, over next to the moray eel there. The $1 Million Movie is next on Channel 6. Action News is back at 5:30 with Monica Malpass.